If you've attended any of our annual survival guides, you know the level of importance that we put behind the active multi-stage warm-up. You truly shouldn't participate in your sport if you haven't been properly warmed up.
Internet maniacs.
The following video list is meant to be used before a practice or a game. It is intended to prepare your athletes for their daily demands. Used on a regular basis, it's also designed to build a more durable athlete. The exercises aren't necessarily specific to baseball only, but they have been chosen to more specifically awaken muscle groups integral to baseball performance. With that said, if it seems that you have to modify some of these movements to better fit the athletes you are working with, so be it. It's much better that you choose to continue to perform a multi-stage warm-up than not. Altogether, this preparation, not including your long toss program, should take approximately 10 minutes. And I know that sounds long, but I will ask that you try to commit to at least 5 of the first 9 videos based on the age group you work with and the length of time your practice allows. Higher levels of athletes should be able to complete the list in its entirety. Keep in mind that the exercises get more dynamic as you go down the list, so if you pick the first 5, your team may not be even sweating at the end of it. That's the key, sweat. If your athletes are not glistening at the completion of this warm-up, then they are not warmed up. For years and years, people have prescribed running poles for baseball players as their sole conditioning program. And what I mean by, if you're a baseball player, you already know, but running poles means running from the foul pole in right field around the warning track to the pole in left field, and pretty much repeating that back and forth as their sole conditioning program. We know now that that's not enough. What I am here to tell you is that as your athletes are filtering their way to practice or a game, as they get to the field, I would like for them to start by running a distance from that foul pole to foul pole just to get the initial warm-up before they do their active multi-stage warm-up. Once they're completed with that initial pole run, and let's say maybe they run out and back is 1, out and back is 2, once they've performed those 2 laps, then we're going to be ready to start our multi-stage warm-up. We're going to break up into groups. Maybe you break the athletes up into position players, or you just, if you've got 25 kids, then you break up into 5 lines of 5 or something. Something that makes the group manageable for you and your practice. Okay, let's get started. All right, after your athletes have filtered down to the field and they've done their warning track, pole-to-pole run, out and back, you're going to gather them down along left field line or the right field line, and I'm just proposing that, like I said, if you have 25 athletes, you take 5 rows of 5 kids, and I've just marked off one line here, and this is about between 10 and 15 yards of space. That's really all you need. Again, make this work for your practices and the field space that you have. It's more important that you do some sort of warm-up than make sure you have, if you don't have 15 yards, I don't want you to not do this warm-up. I wouldn't go any further than 15 yards, however. So like I said, I probably got between 10 and 12 yards here, and that's really all you need to get your athletes warmed up. We're going to go through this list. As I said, there are 9 individual initial multi-stage warm-up videos, and depending on that age of athlete and the time that you have, maybe you only choose 5, but again, keep in mind they get harder as you go down, they get more dynamic, so try to find a mix of less dynamic and more dynamic if you choose not to do all of the videos, okay? Number 1, skip flick, forward and backward. This exercise is intended to wake up every part of the lower extremity, most specifically the ankle. With good ankle mobility, pitchers and throwers can access all degrees of motion and perform a better follow-through. Number 2, lateral step, then squat. This is a dynamic lengthening exercise for your adductors. The foot you're stepping toward is working your quads, but the foot you're leaving behind is actively lengthening your adductor group. Number 3, forward lunge and a backward lunge with rotation towards the front knee. Moving down towards the first cone, you're lunging forward and rotating towards the front knee. Baseball players notoriously lose range of motion at their lead leg when throwing. This exercise is designed to help maintain that internal rotation of their lead leg hip. Number 4, lateral shuffle lead leg step over. The first of the more dynamic exercises on our list is simply just to start waking up the lower extremities and starting to move in a more athletic kind of manner. Number 5, lateral bound, forward and backward. I want you to cover 3 feet from side to side. You're going to be jumping side to side as you cover ground forward and backward. As promised, this is where we start to load the pelvis in both directions. Number 7, the Ickey Shuffle, forward and backward. This one is better seen as opposed to described. Take a look at the athlete's feet and try to mimic that pattern. Honestly, if you can't mimic it, it's more important that you get the feet moving in that quick step fashion than it is to not do it at all. We're going to perform the Ickey Shuffle forward and backward. Number 8, scissors jumps sideways. This will be a lateral exercise, and watch as the athlete switches his hips left and right as he goes down laterally towards the cone in one direction and then comes back laterally in the other direction. Number 9, 2 jumps and 3 high knees. The athlete is going to jump twice, covering a little bit of ground with each one, and then 3 high knees, covering some more. He's going to perform this frontwards and backwards. Now that we've performed the 9 videos for the active multi-stage warm-up, we have to get to the other stages. The next one in line is the powerhouse. The powerhouse section should be performed in its entirety by all age groups, and the arm care portion can be completed at another time during your practice. Potentially, say within the context of batting practice. Maybe there can be an on-deck circle as well as an arm care corner. I think you'll find that if you commit to the performance of an active multi-stage warm-up before participation and an arm care routine, you will enjoy more productive practices as well as more durability of your athletes in the long run. We're looking to perform about 30 repetitions each of these exercises. This is when we really start to load the pelvis of the athlete and really start to train the ability to change direction. Throwing a baseball, albeit compact, is definitely a transition of movements that start by taking a step backwards and then culminate by moving forwards towards the catcher as you deliver your pitch. So it's very important that these athletes be able to transition load very quickly through their pelvis. These exercises in the powerhouse will help to develop that. As I said during my introduction, I'm proposing that your arm care portion of your practice could take place, say, within the context of batting practice. So you have an athlete in the on-deck circle getting ready to go in and hit, but maybe you have an arm care corner that the athlete goes through the exercises intended to keep their arm, shoulder, elbow, shoulder blades healthy throughout the course of a busy baseball season. I'm going to go through the arm care section as follows. Exercise 1. The reverse iron cross is intended to work the movement, not the muscle. It's also intended to load the body for throwing the ball forward. We can't throw the ball forward unless we've appropriately loaded going backwards. In this split stance, I'm a right-handed thrower. I've positioned my left foot in front. I'm reaching towards the tube as it's connected to the fence. My chest is right over top my knee, and then I progress and shift my weight backwards, and I pinch my shoulder blades behind. I'm going to repeat that 15 times. Notice I'm moving quickly because throwing is quick. Always pay attention to form. As I said, perform 15 repetitions. The reverse goalpost is intended again to train the movement, not the muscle. I've moved my tubing attachment down low, and my hands are starting from a low position. My chest again is over my front bent knee, and I'm shifting my weight backwards, finishing with my hands high in this goalpost position, shoulder blades pinched. I'm gonna go back through that progression 15 times. The reverse wood choppers is again intended to train the movement, not the muscle, and load energy before we explode forward. We start again in a low position. Our hands will travel together this time, and I will shift my weight backwards and pull up overhead as if I'm chopping wood in a backwards direction. If the tube was behind me, I'd be pulling down against the resistance. Here again, I'm loading and moving backwards in an effort to more appropriately explode forward.
And 5.
The scapular walks, as the name suggests, work our scapulas. However, there's also a lot of benefits to the core for our athletes with this exercise, as well as working the wrist and hands in a more weight-bearing kind of way. And I know that doesn't sound functional for a baseball player. However, the load that the elbow, shoulder, and the wrist and hand receive is almost a plyometric kind of move and will help work explosiveness, so to speak, of that wrist forearm complex. It's performed like this. I've got tape down in about a 3-foot distance, and I'm going to start on one side of this tape. I'm up in a push-up position, and I'm not letting my midsection sag. That would be poor core stability. I'm up in a good hollow push-up position, and I'm going to start by pinching my shoulder blades. I'm then going to progress into a protracted, rounded position, and then I'm going to step to the right to my target line, pinch, round, progress back, pinch, round, progress back. Over and back is considered 1. Initially, work towards doing 5. Eventually, you should be able to perform 10 in a row. Remember, do not let your athletes sag. This is not a push-up. This is for your scapulas. Thank you for joining me today to go over Kinetic Physical Therapy's active multi-stage warm-up. The industries of elite personal training, athletic training, and physical therapy all recognize the importance of the multi-stage warm-up before participation. With youth injuries up 5-fold since 2000, it is no longer acceptable not to try to take this issue on personally in your corner of the world. Again, remember, this is a framework. If you have to chop it in half, so be it. The most important thing is that you do some sort of multi-stage warm-up. If you commit to this, I know that your team will display improved durability as well as improved athleticism. On top of that, please continue to check out our website and our YouTube channel. We will have more exercises and snippets from our survival guide series in the future.